I recently read a story so disturbing, I just can't get it out of my mind. It happened in rural Alabama. Investigators raided an underground bunker. It was stocked with food, had surveillance cameras, hidden rooms, and a bed. And if you're thinking, well, this is a doomsday situation, that is not the case. It was not for surviving. It was not about doomsday planning. It was for the torture and sexual abuse of children. Today, the real story is about what happened inside that filthy cement dungeon and how it's just not an isolated case. If this was a one-off, if this was just some perverts in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't be talking about it. Let's look at some headlines. They say it all. 7 charged in child abuse ring run from an Alabama bunker. Woman faces multiple charges in horrific Bibb County bunker child sex trafficking case. 8th person arrested in case of sexually assaulting children, animals, in underground bunker. Now, the details are just almost too disturbing to process, and I'm not going to get graphic here and get into things that you don't need to hear. You already know enough, I'm sure, to be disgusted by this. The sheriff called it the most disturbing child abuse case he's seen in 33 years.
I've been in law enforcement for 33 years, and this is absolutely the most horrible thing I've ever seen when it comes to victimization of children.
The abuse took place in a storm shelter converted into a torture chamber. Inside was a stained mattress, a black folding chair, a dirty fan, and a single hanging light bulb. There were at least 10 victims. That's just what they know of so far. Most were between 3 and 10 years old. One was 15. The older children were drugged to make them drowsy, more compliant. There are 8 suspects, including parents and family members, who face charges of trafficking, rape, sodomy, and sexual torture. If all of that had not just been bad enough, they also charged people up to $1,000 a night to abuse the children. When people hear the term sex trafficking, they often picture a runaway lured out a bedroom window on the internet by some pervert and trafficked by some kind of pimp, or a gang kidnapping a teen. But the Alabama case exposes a less talked about reality: familial trafficking. What I'm talking about is a parent, grandparent, or relative that sells a child for money, drugs, rent, groceries, debt relief, or sexual gratification. As sickening as this is, sadly, it is not rare. In fact, just last month in Indiana, 32-year-old Morgan Stepp allegedly offered her 7-month-old daughter to be sexually assaulted for $400. Now, if you're hearing a door close, my wife Robin was on the side listening to this. She couldn't even sit still to hear the rest of this. Now, this woman in Indiana even texted the man, "Half now, the rest after. I'll send my address. And by the way, her dad is not in the picture." In Missouri, 33-year-old Alicia Dandron was charged with sexually exploiting her children, all under age 14. Police found a text containing nude images of her and her children, and the conversation involved having sexual contact with the children. I have spoken with many sexual abuse victims over the years, and one of the most haunting interviews I've ever done was with the familial abuse victim, her name Lauren, and you may remember her as the girl in the closet.
So you're in this closet and it's dark, right?
Yes, sir.
When they came to open that door, had you learned to know opening that door is going to lead to pain?
I did, because that was the only time they took me out.
Lauren was rescued when she was 8 years old. She weighed 25 pounds and was barely 3 feet tall. She had been kept in a filthy, lice and feces-infested closet for years, only taken out for her parents and other adults to sexually abuse her.
You now know this was very wrong, that you didn't deserve this.
No kid or anybody should go through what I've been through. Nobody deserves anything to do harm to them.
Years later, the trauma she endured remained. As I said, familial trafficking is not rare. About 26% of U.S. child sex trafficking cases are familial. Some estimates put it as high as 41%. And in family trafficking, 60% of cases involve the child's biological mother. Let that sink in a minute. 60% of the cases involve the woman who gave birth to the child. So what can we do? We can shock you. All of us can be shocked when we hear the words human trafficking. It's become background noise. It's just become another headline. It's just become something we read that happens to other people. Yet in 2025, children, often exploited by family, are being bought and sold in America every single day. Not third world countries, America every single day. We also need to attack the root drivers of this. Did you know pornography is the gateway drug to trafficking? The average age of first exposure for boys is 8 years old. 8 years old when they are exposed to pornography, which rewires the brain, desensitizes, and is used by predators to groom victims. We also need to enforce the laws we already have. Every state has strong anti-trafficking laws, but these cases are often pled down to lesser charges. Why would you plead these down? Why would you make a deal with a sex trafficker? Conviction rates have plunged from 45 to 16% compared to 92% for other felonies. These are the last people in the world you want to make a deal with. These are the people you want off the street, locked up, taken out of society. We need to create specialized human trafficking courts. We need to use existing judges' budgets and courtrooms, but only after they are trained, only after they are educated as to what kind of cancer this is on society. We need to designate and train judges exclusively for trafficking cases so they understand what this does to people and how generational this is. We need to equip them with trauma-informed skills, real-time data, and survivor-vetted best practices so they can bring not only justice to the perpetrators, but healing to the victims. And that means we need to publicize this. That's why I'm talking about this. I'm talking about it because I want people to pay attention to it. We need to publicize long sentences. People need to know 30, 50 year-long sentences, life sentences, because seeing predators locked away emboldens victims to come forward because they know justice will be served. And finally, we need to hold ourselves accountable. Parents, leaders, lawmakers, all of us must decide. We need to be deputized because when we see things going on in our own neighborhoods, our own apartment buildings, we need to say, that doesn't look right. I need to draw attention to this. I need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We don't want to be bystanders to this happening. We don't want some child looking out a dirty window, looking out a crack in a window that's been covered up, saying, I see that woman standing over there. I see that man standing over there. I just wish they would see me. It's so easy to imagine trafficking as something that happens over there. But the Alabama story proves that it happens right here in our own neighborhoods. For some children, the most dangerous place isn't a street corner or a shady motel. It's the place they were born, the place they were taken home, the people who are charged with keeping them safe. It's their own home. And until we face that reality, until we understand it does take a village, they will never get safety. They will never get justice. Alabama happens in every state in the union. Make sure you're not a bystander. Make sure the real story isn't happening next door to where you live. Wherever you're getting The Real Story, make sure you subscribe and follow. I'll see you tomorrow. You've heard me say it before. Real change starts with real understanding, and that's why I've had Dr. Daniel Amen on my show many times over the years. At Amen Clinics, they do something different. They look at your brain. With nearly 300,000 brain scans from patients in over 155 countries, they take the guesswork out of mental health care. Anxiety, depression, trauma, memory issues. If you're struggling, it's time for answers. Call 866-580-6569 or go to amenclinics.com/Dr. Phil and take the first step. Call 866-580-6569 or go to amenclinics.com/Dr. Phil.